Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. So I got a load of soil delivered today. I'm gonna fall over. I got a load of soil delivered today, and this is a mushroom topsoil compost thing. So it's supposed to be really good garden soil. It's specifically advertised as garden soil, and I'm excited about it. When I bought it, I did ask. If you're not familiar, last year there was a contaminant issue with compost. What they believe it had in it was a lot of grazon, which means the hay that the cows were fed had been sprayed with this grazon, and the cow's stomach, when they digested it and then pooped it back out, it didn't get rid of the chemical. So the compost that we got from the cows actually still had this grazon in it. So a lot of people, especially across the East Coast, really suffered with the soil that they bought, the compost that they bought. It ended up having this weed killer in it, and it really particularly affected nitrates, but across the board, it took out a lot of people's gardens. And I went back and forth a lot on if I was going to bring in outside soil, and I eventually decided I needed to. And I'll walk you down and I'll show you. But I have a couple of areas where I really need to build up that soil. And one of my biggest complaints, it's not going to get fixed this year, one of my biggest complaints is that my garden soil is not the best. And I'll be completely honest. It bothers me that my garden soil is not as good as it should be. I don't want to have any animals, so I'm not really getting compost. Now I do have the bunny, so the bunny is giving me one source of compost, so that is bringing me in the right direction. But if you had chickens and goats and pigs and cows, you would have much easier options to compost, and I'm sure anyone that has those animals will have much better soil than I have. My garden, while it is how I eat, I get so much on food from my garden. It's still essentially just a hobby. Like, I can't pour as much money into this garden as I would like, simply because I don't have the money. So I've never gotten a soil delivery before, and I just decided this year you got to do it. And I'll show you why I wanted the soil delivery. But while this garden feeds me as much as it doesn't mean I can just pour unlimited resources into it. So I do realize that the soil that I have is not top quality. So the fruit I'm growing is not as big as it could be. And it is what it is. I'm still getting plenty of food to feed myself. I'm not cutting myself short any. So it is what it is. So I decided to do the soil delivery. This pile that I have here, I'll turn you around and I'll show you. This pile here was that pile there was $144, including delivery. I was honestly expecting for $144 to get a lot more, but maybe it'll hopefully go further in my garden, hopefully. So I did, you saw in the beginning of this video, I did add more soil to my trees. And then I'm going to test the soil, and should I have tested it before I planted the trees in it? Yes. If this soil is contaminated, the bigger concern would be how do I get rid of the soil if it's contaminated, and I can't just, I won't put it in the garden if it's contaminated, which again I don't think it is, but I'm not putting it on the garden, I'm not planting my vegetables in it yet until I know whether it's contaminated or not. So I put the trees in here, and if the soil does come back and it's contaminated, and I already have the trees in, I will try to move the trees out to save them, but if I end up losing the trees, I lose the trees. Obviously not ideal, but the bigger concern at that point would be how do I get rid of 2 tons of soil that is sitting in my driveway that I can't use, and I just paid a lot of money for. So I didn't have any of the soil in the house that I could use for the trees. I wasn't expecting the trees this day, and I'm going out of town tomorrow for a week, so I don't really have time to go buy bagged soil. And even bagged soil could have the same contaminant issue that we are facing in the compost world. So with that said, I am going to test this soil. I did ask when I bought it if they run any testing, and they told me to get this from a farm down in Maryland, a compost factory farm thing down in Maryland. And they said it is really good soil. The guy I talked to wasn't really familiar with what tests they run. He's like, I know they send some paper up with the compost, like certified or whatever, but he didn't know what that was. So I was like, okay, no worries. I'm just going to test it myself. So what that means is, Jess at Roots and Refuge has found what she thinks to be, she calls it the canary in the coal mine. And what we're going to do is we're going to plant beans. I'm going to do 3 different types of beans just to make sure it's not, just to make sure that like it's not just like one type of bean that's not growing. It's across the board. So like I said, I'm going away tomorrow. I'm going away for a week. And then I come back. I have 2 days of work, and then I'm off for 5 or 6 days. 5 days. So those 5 days is when I'm going to put the garden in. So at this point, it's probably about 10 days until this soil in my plan is to get moved to the garden. So that'll give me a good amount of time, just shy of 2 weeks, that we're going to plant these beans, and we're going to put them in the grow room. I have all of my lights on timer, so they'll still keep going while I'm gone. And the idea is that if the soil is contaminated, the beans will start to grow and they'll shrivel up and die. If the soil is not contaminated, your beans will grow. And beans grow so quickly that these are a really good way to tell if the soil is good or not. So I just filled a little container with, with some soil. I just like messed it up. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to plant these beans in this soil, put them in the grow room, and I am sowing them heavily. The goal is not necessarily to grow these as plants for the garden. These are just essentially to be tests to see if this soil is safe. And I'm pretty sure it is, but while we're gone, we can't use the soil anyway. Might as well plant some beans in it and see how they react. So I did just a handful of pinto beans in there. Next I'm going to do some black beans in one. And the reason I'm doing different beans is because I want to make sure that it's not just like I have like dud beans. Because my plan is when I get back, I would really like to get this soil moved into the garden so that I can get my wood chips delivered and get the garden in, you know, get the garden started. Okay, and then the last one I just did some fine green beans. Okay, I'm going to top these off, and then I'll take you down to the garden and show you why I want some soil. Okay, so I'm going to water them real well. I'm going to put them underneath the grow lights, and we'll see what happens. But for now, let's go down to the garden, and I'll show you why I wanted some soil. So I have some cardboard out. I need to finish laying the cardboard and then soil and chip over it to keep the weeds down. But this space here is actually a really good space. It's the length of my bean trellis. And it's actually a really good space. But I just would like to amend this with some compost. It's not really been amended. It's not really been too amended since I put that bean trellis in. So last year there were beans in it, so the beans did 100% add nutrients back into that. But I would just like to add some compost to it. So that's the third place I want to put soil. This bed is also one, and if you actually come down you can see just how low the soil is on this bed. And I actually have a good amount of hay on it, like it's so low. So I really want to add some soil into that bed and build that bed up. And then this bed here, this was new last year, and you can see, you know, it doesn't really have good dirt. I have a lot of straw and stuff down, but I'm trying to build it up. But it doesn't have, has a lot of straw. I'm really trying to keep weeds down. Well, you can't really see there. This space was new last year, and it was always there's some big fire bushes here, so there are a couple of trunks in here that we couldn't get out. And just to be honest, the dirt's not the best. It doesn't have really a good tussle. It's really kind of rocky in here and just not good growing soil. So this is the main area that I really want to put that topsoil in, or that garden soil in. I want to build this up a good bit. But what's nice about this, my goal is to put 2 inches of soil on this space here. But what's nice about this is going to be the potato bed next year. So you can see I definitely have a ton of straw down here. I really struggled with weeds in this space last year, and my goal this year is to get weeds knocked down as much as possible. And I don't know how successful I'm going to be. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of going through everything, putting a layer of cardboard down, putting straw on, and then putting the topsoil, plants in, and then do another layer of mulch on top to really kind of help fight these weeds as much as possible. But last fall, the end of the growing season, I got everything out of this space, and this grew corn. It grew corn stalks. It did not grow edible corn. I'm not sure what happened. I kind of blame it on the lack of nutrients in the soil. So what I did last year when I got those corn out, I cardboarded really heavily, and I really, really put down a good layer of straw. So that's already really starting to break down. I just kind of dug in here, and I can see it is starting to break down. You can see like the dirt that is on the top here is just, it's nothing. It's not good growing soil. So my plan is to put some of that topsoil, about 2 inches, on this whole area here, and then I'm gonna put more straw on it, because this is gonna be my potato bed this year. And I start all of my potatoes actually in straw. I do the root stout method when I grow potatoes. So basically, all of this straw is covered by soil, so this will break down this year, and then I'm gonna add more straw on top. So I'm building up the soil, and I think I'm kind of doing like a lasagna style, like a double layer of mulch and soil and stuff, in order to kind of get this to break down faster. So that my thought is, by this time next year, I would actually have some good quality compost and soil in this space. At least if not next year, the year after. So we're just building up this soil. It's just gonna take some time. But this is the main space that needs the soil. And especially because there were these big fire bushes in here, there wasn't really a lot of dirt. The roots kind of pushed everything out, and it washed everything away. So it's not really a good spot for gardening. So we gotta fix it. This is the next space. Oh yeah, see here, you can kind of see this is still that potato, but you can just kind of see just not good soil. So we need to top it off. But in here, you can see this is my next space that I want to have done. Now with this space, this soil is a lot better. This was a potato bed last year, so it's already starting to break down and create a really nice compost or soil. But I really struggled with weeds in this area last year. So my plan is, and you can see already, look at this. Look at all those weeds already. Like, look at all of them. Well, I guess my shadow's in the way, but come on. So I really struggle with weeds, and I really struggle with thistle. Really struggle with thistle. So my plan is that whole space over there, all of that, I'm going to heavily cover with some cardboard, and then I'm going to heavily cover that space with cardboard, and then I'm going to put soil on top of it and then some hay. I've cut holes in the cardboard and I'll put the plant directly into the ground, and that way between the cardboard and the soil and the straw, it'll be helping to build up the soil quality, and hopefully the plan is to be help cut down on some of those weeds. I have a lot of grass that grows, a lot of hay, and then a lot of thistle. So this is an effort to not only build up the soil, but also cut down the weeds. So we'll see if it works. I'm hoping my soil is good. So I have my three pots here. I'm gonna go water them, put them under the grow light, water my apple trees, my peach trees, and they're just gonna stay out here. I will probably move them into the sun a little bit more, but we're just gonna get them watered and get them put up probably somewhere on the patio. And we'll be back in a week to see how the beans have done, how the trees are doing, and hopefully I have a lot more life going on as spring comes and things start to blossom and grow. The garden will be in pretty soon. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.